Hey guys, good afternoon from St. Isidore's Farm. I mentioned in a previous video that it's fall is upon us, so there's a lot to do on the farm, a lot of projects. We're going to try and bring you along and catch some of these things. And on that note, I just wanted to say, I know some people, viewers and friends who certainly talk to us and have seen what we've done, which is to move increasingly from sort of the city to the suburbs to further out and eventually to buying this farm and being out here, are considering it themselves. And one thing I just wanted to say to folks, if you're thinking about a move to a more rural life and to a farm, either small or big, is just the amount of work that goes into it. It's not a bad thing if you enjoy the work, and truthfully, I think for our own children, the idea of building a work ethic and how much effort goes into the things that we often take for granted, where our food comes from especially, it's very helpful in that regard. And personally, I truly enjoy it. But it is something to think about. It takes time and a lot of effort constantly on a farm. It doesn't ever really stop. There's not a time, and there are times when it's a little bit slower and there is less to do, but there are definitely periods where there is a lot to do and needs to be done at a certain time. So just to keep that in mind. But one of the things we're doing is to try and address our vegetable garden and to improve a vegetable garden that we have. So this area, quickly, just to sort of show you, this is a large flat area that two owners before us came in and graded all of this, brought in backfill, red clay mostly, and sand, and they rode horses up here. A second owner came in and had a nursery growing mums, and so they put in the infrastructure for two greenhouses, which was basically just the pipes in the ground, the electrical service, a water supply coming out. We have since added the structure. We haven't completed the greenhouse. We started that last summer. We hope to finish it this winter. This is one of our projects we want to have done before the spring gets here. And we've started putting in raised beds for our perennials, blueberries, thornless blackberries, and asparagus, and we're going to keep moving those across with other perennial vegetable and fruit plants. But what we don't have is a great area for our vegetable garden. And I'll show you a big problem for us if you look at the soil here. And this is certainly something I think to consider if you're going to buy a farm, and one of the things you want to do is raise vegetables or have vegetable crops, is to look at the soil and consider it. And truthfully, we didn't really do that so much. I mean, we were looking at the whole picture of this farm and all that it had to offer, which was really terrific. There was so much of what we were looking for on this piece of land. One thing we didn't really look at was this, which is that the soil up here, there isn't any. This is sand on top of red clay, and the drier it gets, the harder it gets, and it can be almost like concrete. So what I want to show you, or what we're going to try to do, is what hundreds of other people have done. There are countless videos on the internet, is to try this back to Eden garden method using wood mulch. And I'm going to post the link. There'll be a information card, should come up here, pointing to a documentary that goes back to Paul Gauchi's, the original thing that started all this, about an hour long, very interesting, talking about this method and why it works, why it's so successful. And I think for us, it will be perfect. We don't want to invest the money of trying to bring in truckloads after truckloads of soil, topsoil, to build this up. We want to maybe do it, take a little bit longer, but do it naturally and in a different way. And I think Paul's method, this back to Eden method, will work. So first thing I want to do is show you a video of all of the mulch that a local tree service contractor has been bringing us. And then I'm going to show you what we've been doing in the garden. So this is what I'm talking about. This is the piles of mulch that have come from a local tree service, and that they have graciously offered, or we've taken it off their hands, frankly. They got to get rid of it, and we contacted them, and they have been wonderful about bringing all of this mulch for us, and just a bunch of it. Okay, so as you saw at the beginning of the video with the tractor, we've been moving this, and so in this large area where we primarily have been trying to do our garden, where we want to start it, we've been moving over all of this mulch and piling it as you can see, anywhere from probably about 16 to 18 to 24 inches deep. And this is going to compress over time. There's a lot of air in here, and as it starts to settle, we should get a solid bed of what is going to be compost as it decomposes, compost and mulch on top of it that we'll be able to do for our garden. Now I want to go over and I'm going to dig out an area and show you already what has been happening as a result of this. Okay, so if you ended up going, or if you've watched the Back to Eden method, Paul's method, the idea here is what happens in nature is that as the leaves and trees and branches and other stuff falls down onto the ground, it builds up a layer in the woods, in the forest, that always stays wet and moist, especially if you were to go dig down into it. So this area of where I've been putting this mulch, we started about 2 weeks ago. I started moving some of this. So this has been sitting here for about 2 weeks, and you just saw where I pointed to the ground, and if Isaac just shoots over right here, you can see how dry and hard the ground is over there. But if I pull the mulch back over here, you can see I can actually, with just my bare hand, go down into this and pull up what is now very moist and soft. It's still sand, but at least it's not the hard concrete that was there. And you can see, I mean, if plants were to grow down into this, it's going to be much easier for roots to grow. And eventually what we will have, I would imagine over time, is as this starts to break down, we're going to have some really terrific compost down here at the bottom, sitting on top of a moist, wet sand. So we'll get good drainage, have topsoil, and then have mulch on top of this that will limit the amount of water that we have to put on the ground, that it will stay wet, and eventually we will start to get a lot of nutrients developing. So that's it. Just wanted to make a quick video about one of the projects we're doing this fall, which is to try and implement this Back to Eden method in our garden. Hopefully next summer what I'll be able to do is an update to this video and show you what we pray will be really great results for this work. So thanks again as always to new subscribers that have come on. We're humbled and grateful that people would want to follow our adventure out here. And if you want to, please subscribe and follow us, and look for more videos to come up soon. We should be getting some more up quickly. So thanks again for watching, and God bless.